Hi Cubs, it's your favorite computer cat, Mickup, and I'm here with...
Lee.
And today, I'm starting a new series called Interests Illuminated, where I talk to people about their special interests and hobbies. So, tell us, what are you going to be talking about today?
I'm gonna be talking about MBTI, bro.
First of all, I have to ask you, what exactly is MBTI?
Okay. MBTI, it stands for Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, and it's a pseudoscience based on Carl Jung's theory of psychological type, which is a theory that determines the way you think, process information, and behave, represented by the infamous four-letter labels. The way it is formatted depends on the two types of cognitive processes, perception and judgment. Each process has two functions. In the perception family is sensation and intuition, and in the judgment family is thinking and feeling. The four-letter typing you receive depends on the order in which these functions are sorted. In the first space, which is I or E, depends on whether your very first function in your stack is externally focused or internally focused. The fourth letter, which is P or J, determines which branch of cognitive processes your first external function is. The middle letters, S or N and T or F, are dependent on the first and final letters. For example, as I'm ISTJ, my first external function would have to be external thinking, as indicated by the I at the start, outruling my judgment function from being in the first slot, and the J at the end, which tells me if it's thinking or feeling. Using the remaining letter S, we can infer that my first function will be internal sensing. You only really need to know your first two functions, as the last two will be in opposing order to the ones we already know. Internal sensing's opposite is external intuition, so this would be the last slots and SIs in the first.
Thanks for giving this beautiful overview. I do have to ask, since you know so much about this, what exactly got you into MBTI? Or, how did you find out about it?
I had known about MBTI since 2020 from my friend, but they had only really known about the version that 16personalities.com tells you, which I'll get into later. But at this point, I had no interest in learning about it, and even though I thought that I'd never understand how the letters came to be or what they represented, years later, in late 2023, a new friend had introduced me to what MBTI really is, and would then motivate me to learn about it myself. Since January of 2024, I had been perfecting my knowledge on the topic by doing extensive research and making my own notes, memorizing the stacks and rules to how they're sorted. Pretty epic.
You must be really grateful for that friend, huh? For doing
No,
that.
I hate them. Jokes!
With that 16 Personalities website that you were talking about, are all MBTI test websites? Are all MBTI test websites accurate? And what are the most and least accurate websites in your experience?
Buddy. Okay, I would say no test is really accurate as you know your own mind best. That goes for people who are willing to learn how cognitive functions really work. For those who don't want to do that, there is this website my friend had shown me that actually tests for specific functions, which
Woo!
is https://www.michaelcarlos.com/personality/. Probably
Yeah!
just personality traits you share with certain types. Looking at you, 16personalities.com. I don't actively search for tests, but I know for sure that anyone who only knows MBTI based on those little drawings from 16personalities.com aren't fully aware of how MBTI works. Yikes.
Embarrassing. So, are there any common misconceptions about MBTI that you'd like to prove wrong?
The biggest misconception I can think of is that people assume MBTI is personality, thanks to 16personalities.com. I will not get over my beef! When really, it is just organizing your thought process into a stack of functions. For example, a lot of people say that EXTJ people are heartless and cruel. While this may be true for some, it isn't for all. Being EXTJ just means you prioritize finding the fastest, most efficient solution to a problem. It has nothing to do with how you act, which is why a lot of people get mistyped. Another misconception which I have also faced is actually just mistyping yourself. This is because your function stack can tend to oppose itself when you're very stressed. You should type yourself based on the functions you exhibit when you're mentally stable. That way you can get results that most accurately represent the way you think.
That's beautiful advice. I appreciate that very much.
No problem.
I'm sure we already kind of know the answer to this based on what you're saying, but how are you able to tell someone's personality type without them taking the test? And how are you able to figure out yours?
To put it simply, observation. When I talk to people, I try to look for any signs or intentions that will tell me the functions that they use. Then I'll try to order those functions in the way I see most fitting to how they respond to things. For example, I could judge that my classmate uses internal feeling and in hand external thinking, as they must be opposite, by the reason why she picked up a banana peel off the ground. Yeah, it can be that mundane. My friend had asked her, "Did you pick it up so that nobody would trip over it?" Which would indicate external feeling. However, she responded, "No, because I might step on it." Determining sensing and intuition is more difficult, though, but can be done if you pay attention to how someone explains their thought process. If one says, "I do this because it has worked in the past," you can tell that they have internal sensing. On the other hand, if they say that they do this because the situation at hand calls for it, then you can see that they have external sensing. Usually, I try to determine one function from both perception and judgment categories so that the second of each will be opposite, unless I encounter them contradicting this. For me, I could tell by my abundant external thinking function and my abhorrently bad external intuition function, which puts it in the inferior slot in my stack, removing the possibility of me being ESTJ, as its NE is higher. I also find myself reflecting constantly on past instances in order to respond to new ones, which is what gave me my internal sensing as my dominant function.
So, with all that being said, guys, what are some facts about MBTI that people may not know?
Well, first thing I could think of is the fact that pseudoscience means fake science. None of this can be scientifically proven by tests or experiments, but it's still interesting to learn if you like to understand people. And 16personalities.com again. Whenever you see somebody stating their MBTI with the suffix T or A, I can usually tell that they aren't educated on MBTI like I am, which then gives me the opportunity to study them. The suffix is only relevant to the MBTI that 16personalities.com assesses, which doesn't actually matter for how you think. All it means is whether you're stable or not, assertive or turbulent. Oh, and also note that you can be really good at performing a function but not having it on your stack. The ones that matter most is what comes to your mind first. For example, I have really well-developed external feeling, which made me mistype myself a lot before as ISFJ, and I realized that external feeling is less of a priority to me than my external thinking is in terms of how my mind works. One of the other things that I have in my brain about MBTI is just personal bias about the types that I like and don't like, which may be kind of rude. So, when I was studying MBTI to begin with, I had tried to explain each function in terms of personality traits, which wasn't very helpful to me because that made me think that a lot of INFP and ENFP people were just selfish and rude. But that is blatantly wrong because not everybody's like that, as I just stated. But that was an old me. I've turned a new leaf.
A new leaf.
My second thing is my crazy history of mistyping myself. Okay, when I was studying, I was finding out what all of the functions were like in terms of personality again. Since I often change how I act to respond to other people, it made me think that I was either ESFJ or ISFJ because external feeling, as I said before. Why does your face look like that? Then I had gotten to a point where I had so many that related to me that I ended up actually recently concocting a list of every character that I related to and then deciphering their MBTI and then comparing the results. The most common one amongst the characters that I relate to was ENTJ, and in the second place was INFJ. Obviously, those two weren't what I have assigned myself now, ISTJ. Mm-hmm. So then I was wondering, what if I'm all of them? Since I'm awesome, okay. I had made my own system where, you know how when you're describing a personality, you describe layers of themselves, like faces.
Not
It's
really.
like first face is like how you act externally to around everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Second
Oh,
face
yeah, I get it
is how
now.
you act with your friends, and then third is how you act by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had taken that into account and then just attached my other MBTIs onto it. So I had like made my externalist self, I think ISTJ, and
Mm-hmm.
then the next one down was INFJ, and then down again was ENTJ. So I had cheated the system because I couldn't decide which I was. Now I'm just going to say I'm ISTJ because I've had that for the longest time. On the typology spiel, I will also just mention the existence of an Enneagram. It's just like it's a set of 1 to 9 numbers, and
Mm-hmm.
each of them have like a basic fear and a basic desire. You can assign yourself like whichever one most relates to you, and then the next one, since it's formatted like number W number,
Mm-hmm.
you have to choose between either of the two numbers directly next to the first one that you chose. So I think that's pretty epic. I have the same Enneagram as Jesus H. Christ. This is
What?
epic. I mean, I really like lists, but I'd also made a list of all the characters' Enneagrams to assign myself as well. Usually, I'm 1 wing 2, but this one gave me 3 wing 4, with 1 wing 2 being my second most.
Do you know those like
Brain fart?
websites? Okay, buddy. Do you know those
Oh, the
websites
insights?
where,
Oh
oh
my
no,
god, bruh.
where it like shows characters'
Are you talking
MBTI?
about personality database?
Yeah. Do
Yeah,
you think that's accurate?
I don't really like those a lot because I feel like a lot of them are just it's just like a free for all in there. Like
Mm.
whoever gets the most votes wins. I think that's kind of silly.
Oh
I
yeah.
like when people comment the reasons why they think a certain character is what, but a lot of
Hmm.
people don't do that and just vote for whatever's most popular. So it's just kind of, you know,
I'm sure with websites like that where you just vote on the top answer, that a lot of
yeah,
people are just going to vote for the more popular MBTI types as well, right?
yeah.
And with that being
Mm-hmm.
said, what is the most common and most rare MBTI?
Recently I've noticed like a lot of people are INFP because of their like ability to know what they want, and also the fact that a lot of people are kind of more anxious these days, so they're bound to like think of more reasons for why something is happening, which is where the external intuitions comes from. And as for rarest, I wouldn't say it's rare, but I would say that the ones that I doubt the most whenever I see is when people say that they have internal thinking as their dominant function, like ISTP or INTP,
Hmm.
because I just doubt the ability of some people. I see people with like a crazy card bio it's thing, and I'll just
A
judge their
crazy
MBTI
card.
from the way that they talk about themselves, and it is not ISTP core. I don't know why they even thought that, but anyway, I don't think it's rarest. I had read somewhere that MBTI with high judging functions like ENTJ or ISTJ, etc., really common because judging is probably the most easiest thing for a person to do. I had seen that people with intuition and sensing, which are the perception functions, they're some of the like least common. It was this random study from some research in America. I think you can just make your assumptions based on who you meet. Yeah,
Now I have another question. What kind of people,
yeah.
like, what were they saying on their cards that made it so questionable?
Because usually people have like a before you interact section and they'll
Oh yeah.
describe things that they do. I wouldn't expect someone of like with a high external feeling function to be like, I don't care what you think, because that's not what external feeling is.
Hmm.
I should probably explain what each function really means in like simple terms. What do you reckon?
Yeah, go for it, buddy. It's all eyes on
Okay.
you, man.
Yeah, as it should be. What? Okay. First up, I'll do thinking. External thinking is just when you when you're presented with a problem, you like look for the most efficient solution. Whereas internal thinking is you try to understand everything about the problem rather than diving straight into the solution. With sensing, external sensing, as my example from the totally not scripted part, it kind of focuses on what the situation at hand calls for, whereas internal sensing, it reflects within to see what it should do. Because if I've done something a certain way in the past, I'm going to do it again if a similar situation arises.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas maybe an ESTP, for example, they would just, whatever the situation is, they're going to analyze the elements of the situation and then take that in and figure out what they should do. With feeling, external feeling is when the person responds to and reflects what the community wants or the other person that they're talking to wants, rather than what they themselves want. I've seen a lot of people say that this function is kind of manipulative at times, which of course it can be, anybody can be that. But I've also seen people say that they don't like people with this function because they can get too like attached to what people think about them, and it kind of makes them hard to deal with. But I think that people with external feeling are kind of nicer people than people with internal feeling. On that note, people with internal feeling, they...
evil. No, I'm joking.
They're awful. No. They prioritize their opinion over others. An example of this would be when my mutual friend was complaining and speaking poorly of like the furry community. And as someone who doesn't mind or even likes that community, I knew that my opinion was not better, but like more valuable to me than theirs. I wouldn't change what I think depending on the other person, whereas someone with external feeling would. Intuition. This one was kind of hard for me to understand for a long time because I'm really bad at both of those functions. But either way, I have made the realization that external intuition is basically expanding an idea. So if you say you have back pain, you're gonna brainstorm a bunch of reasons why you could have back pain. Whereas someone with internal intuition, they would kind of like, I don't know, immediately know, well, no, that's bad. What I understand is that internal intuition is connecting ideas, whereas external intuition is expanding from an idea. So they kind of reverse. If someone with high external intuition sees somebody upset, they're gonna try and think of a lot of different ways why. And someone with internal intuition is gonna try and take stuff from the environment or what they already know, and then
be like, oh shit,
kind of
that's why.
Water it down, connect. I wish I had that function in abundance because it would make it so much easier to explain, and it just feels like a better function to have, really. I think this series is actually a really good idea, especially for, on the topic, your MBTI, because since you're internal thinking dominant, then you're going to be asking a lot of questions like why and how, rather than just being like, okay.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. Okay, what was your question?
Which website do you think is the worst website to get answers on MBTI from? Reddit or Quora?
Oh, there's this Reddit page for MBTI, subreddit for MBTI, and a lot of people in there, they've either come from 16personalities.com, so it's a hit or miss, or it's people that actually know about cognitive functions and they do in-depth analyses about characters, which is epic. But otherwise, the people on the subreddit are kind of just like posting memes with the sprites from 16personalities.com. which
Oh
is
yeah, I've seen some of
cringe.
those.
Remember when you showed
Stretched
me
out
that
font.
thing where everybody hated
Oh
INTJ?
yeah.
Quora, I've never actually looked at or seen any MBTI related things from there.
Do you think you'd look at it now?
Let me see. MBTI Quora. Alright, let's see. Oh, dude.
Oh no.
Dude. Oh, dude. Oh. Alright, all of this is just. Okay, well, not all of this, but the first one that I've seen that I'm automatically going to apply to all of the rest of them is that, they're just posting their opinions on each MBTI and saying that they have a PhD. Yeah, I'm gonna say the subreddit probably has more
Substance.
actual actual like thoughtful analyses in there rather than just uh saying your stereotype of each MBTI like on Quora.
Like, have you ever mistyped anyone and then realized, like, some way through in your relationship with them, oh my gosh, now I know?
I think with you I've actually done that. I just thought you would use different functions because I don't think I like spoke to you enough about your thought process to properly analyze you, but either way,
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that you used internal thinking so much, and now that you have explained it to me, I do know. But
Whoa.
otherwise, I had mistyped you. Usually, when I analyze people, I just
When you analyze.
kind of. I mean, when I analyze people, I usually just think of what functions they use and then stop there because I can't be bothered to put them in the stacks. But there actually has been more times where I would judge a person's MBTI upon like first meeting them,
Mm-hmm.
and then over time forget what I was doing, and then come back later and then realize that they are what I had originally said. Usually that happens because I tell them to take the test that I recommended earlier. I usually am right, which is pretty epic. I can definitely think of 2 people, not including you, that I still have no idea because I'm not really. Some people just don't really talk about themselves that
Oh,
much,
yeah.
and others I can't like organize the functions because they literally are not present enough to do so. There's this part of personality database where they assign MBTI to songs and
Ah.
occupations. Like,
I
I'm
can
not
already.
sure why
Yeah,
you
I
would
can
do
already
that.
kind of.
It's just like strange because they're not really people. Like, how bored are you to like analyze what a philosopher should have their MBTI as? They're like, it is strange. Often in the MBTI community, the intuitive function is said to be tied to philosophy. Like, okay, dude, I don't really care. Even though I've spoken about that, I have indulged in that myself upon finding out about it. There will be songs where I'll guess the MBTI and then I'll go check what the other people say, and it would be completely different, and I'd be like wondering how they even got to that conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings me to was it Cardi B that made WAP? My friend had shown me the Cardi B WAP personality database,
Uh-huh.
and people were actually having a war about
A
whether it was
war?
ESFP or INTJ, and that was just insane to me. I don't know how you could even analyze Cardi B WAP, but okay.
Instead of WAP, it was indeed WAR.
Yeah, I guess from the top, make a drop. That's some ESFP. They were arguing between ESFP and INTJ, which is the complete opposite,
Mm-hmm.
which is really interesting. Speaking of TikToks, where it's like your character or whatever,
No.
I was seeing memes where it was like MBDI in a Zoom call, and it was just like really random stuff that like didn't have anything to do with MBTI at all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why you would think an ESFP would,
Scream
I don't even remember what
aggressively
the
into
video
the.
was, dude. Yeah, probably. I'm not really fond of personality database because while it is, like, useful for if I want to not analyze a character myself and just check what the majority thinks, I'm not sure how many people on personality database actually know cognitive functions well,
Mm.
other than the 16 personalities version. But yeah. I hate those guys.
This is the most stupid question I've probably said here. Would you rather ban 16 personalities or ban Quora MBTI?
I don't think enough people use Quora,
Oh, gosh darn it. I
so I don't
use
think it
Quora.
matters that much.
I use
explains a
Quora
lot.
as a joke. Okay.
I think a lot of people just misunderstand MBTI because of 16 personalities, and I might have not just looked into it enough, but that's what I'm going with right now. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna say ban 16 personalities, dude. They make like Pinterest images where it's like if an INFP was your girlfriend. It's just like a tiny little image of the girl avatar, and then it's just a bunch of quotes that could be from anybody around her saying like, oh, yeah.
That's an amazing quote.
All I can remember on the quotes was sorry, 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 sorry. Just a lot
okay.
of sorries. I'm not sure why you're that apologetic, bro. You're INFP. My understanding of INFP is that they're like assertive of what they want, whereas what 16 Personalities has made of INFP is like this really shy, mentally ill, fucking insane girl.
Okay.
There was this meme where it was like a cycle, and it was everyone hates me to I'm amazing into I am not real. Like, what?
What?
Not sure why people are projecting mental illness moments onto 16personalities.com avatars.
I don't know if you know about this, but there's like a bunch of memes that like target specific MBTs, like MBTIs rather. How do you feel about those? I'm sure I already know the. I'm sure we all already know the answer to this.
Okay, once again, stupid. Okay, every MBTI person is different. A lot of people will say that ISTJ are boring, overly logical, don't know how to respond to situations emotionally. But I'm not like that. So like, one stereotype cannot be generalized to every other person part of the community. And two, it's not your personality. MBTI is not like your entire personality. Yeah. Externally, a lot of people wouldn't think that I like think with logic first and foremost, because outwardly I'm very silly and not at all how I think when I am just thinking. You can't really generalize an MBTI to every person because you don't know what they're actually like.
Really? That goes for like basically anyone
Everything?
from any community. Yeah, just everyone,
Yeah.
everything.
All gay people like pink. Like, no. All gay people. Do you like pink makeup?
I mean,
the whole, like, all of the isms are just because of stereotypes. Men and women are taught from a young age to like act a certain way, which is stereotypical, and then they have to grow up to be that stereotype. The whole world is just a stereotype right now. I know that MBTI stereotypes is like a little speck of dust compared to the massive fucking pile that is all of the isms, but you know, special interests, whatever.
a lot of people who I've tried to get to take the test have said, oh, like, it's too long, I'm not going to do that. What's your response to that? Do you think the test is still, like, worth taking just for the length, or, like, what's your opinion on that?
Have those people taken the 16personalities.com test?
Yeah.
I think it's mainly they're used to how that one is, because that one is only, like, a scale of, I don't know, 1 to 5 on how much you agree to something. Whereas the Michael Carlos test is, it has a bunch of different types of questions and different formats, and it's all for the sake of better understanding you. and your type, which I think is much better than just agreeing or disagreeing to like a very common thing. One of the questions on 16 personalities was like, I think everyone hates me or something like that. Like, anybody could feel that way, but
Yeah.
I don't think that determines your type. With the Michael Carlos, they even go out of their way to have
Examples, backstories.
yeah, examples.
Not
And
backstories,
they
guys.
even like show you what your question hints to for your answer, which is also really good. You should always, unless it's like a school exam, take a test that actually like clue you in on what they're actually testing. I have two things to say. There are these templates that I do see where it's like the stereotypes of this MBTI versus what I've actually seen.
Sorry, guys,
And
got
those
the
ones I
glitching. Hold on.
feel way better explain what the MBTI is like. And I appreciate those. And a second thing was I like to practice understanding other MBTIs by creating characters and trying to understand how they think, which is pretty epic.
That is actually really cool, by the way.
Thanks, man. Ever since I started studying it, I feel like since I have such high internal sensing, I think about it a lot. I think about how I can judge a person based on the knowledge that I already know about MBTI. So I think that's really handy being the MBTI that I am and studying it. One time I had like a moment where I couldn't really focus on anything. So I just instead was brainstorming about MBTIs and stuff, and for some reason it calmed me down. I feel like anybody's special interest could either calm them down or make them extremely insane. My friend was like ranking a bunch of their fictional crushes, and I was doing some like analysis with the data of like what MBTI is most attractive to them. So I feel like I should do something of the same type where I rank how much I like each MBTI. Oh, they're all the way at the bottom, bro.
What? Who?
Wilted flower emoji.
When you were at that point in your life where you thought that a lot of MBTI types were specifically like always evil or they're always good or something. When you thought that way, have you noticed or did you notice that like your friendships with the people that you know looked down upon, or you know the people with the MBTI types that you looked down upon, did you notice that they were like, you know, failing as a result of how you thought, or like, you know, what do you think about that?
So there's 2 points. So for some of them, I wanted the relationship to work out, so I would like softly criticize them so that they wouldn't have a mental illness moment about it, and then teach them how to get better at prioritizing other people, which then in hand also proved to me that not all INFP people are very self-absorbed. They can be different. And on the second point, I either just like was less engaged when I spoke to them, so I guess it did kind of the relationship did kind of dissipate after that. Where I would just like pretend to be interested in what they were talking about and to like save their feelings because they were I don't know very 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 assertive about what they like. A lot of people that I don't like have high internal feeling, and that's just because they haven't really developed external feeling. Like, they don't know when to stop talking about themselves. When I talk to some INFP people about, like, personal issues, they will actually like talk about themselves as a way of like showing you that you're not alone rather than just making it about themselves. So I had this mindset where it was just one thing specifically, but then I was shown later that, you know, it's not always that, which is pretty epic. I did my tier list. I didn't do much thinking when I did this. As you can see, the people that I liked the most was people with a reasonable amount of external feeling. So, like, they know how to respond to other people well, but not to the point that they're super dependent, like people that are dominant with external feeling. At the bottom is mainly people with high external intuition, just because I don't like how some of them can be kind of annoying. As a person that like really likes the most efficient answer, them like looking for every single possibility just makes me a little bit annoyed, because you could do the you could just do the easy way out. In the middle, I don't really care. C, I care a little bit less. And in the A, I care a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay, we've been doing this interview for an hour and 14 minutes. I think that's pretty epic.
Okay, I'm gonna do my outro.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so... Hold on, give me a second.
That was too energetic, bro.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cups, for watching the first episode of... Oh shit. Interests Illuminated. I appreciate you being here, and I'm sure Lee does too, I hope.
No, actually.
How dare you? I'm never inviting you on here
guys.
again. You're banned.
Subscribe, hit that bell, follow, check out the other socials, join my Discord, etc.
By the way, I don't think I have this on my card or anything, but I have a Tumblr account. Oh. I have a Tumblr account, and I post Beetle art on Tumblr, so follow that. One of the next people on here is going to be...
So sorry, guys. I don't know what came up with it.
Thanks for your contribution. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Love you all. Except...
I don't.
Okay. I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah.
Except if you don't subscribe.
See you in the next one. Bye! Hold on, let me stop the recording.